All right, welcome to Weird Faith. We're so glad for the first time we are live. You're going to see absolutely all the foibles that we go through, every slip up, all of it. And we'd love to interact with you down here in the comments. So we're going to be reading them. Oh, yeah, look at that. We've got our Weird Faith shirts on. And for the next few episodes, the weirdest comment, the one that makes us laugh, or the one that makes us think, is really going to be the one that we're going to give out a free shirt every single episode for the next few episodes. Although tonight is live. This could be the last episode. If Josh doesn't get canceled tonight, I'm going to happen.
It's going to happen. The fact that we get to edit every single time that we do this thing keeps us alive. Well, keeps me alive.
I'm a little scared because I know they expect perfection because of the way we edit it in the past. They're not expecting any mistakes. We see our little blunders every now and then, but most of the ones you all don't see. So you're going to see all of them on full display tonight.
Yes, have all the grace in the world for us tonight.
And
we want to welcome some people in the comments here.
Check it out.
Man, it is bussing down there in the comments. See Yvonne down there, Jessica Haynes. Somebody just hopped in, John Ayers, and said, put it on a cracker, dude.
Hey.
Like, put the podcast on a cracker?
Yeah, I don't, maybe she was, did we talk about that one time? The game Put It on a Cracker? Do you remember when you were a teenager we did that?
I have no idea.
Yeah, like where it's just like all kind of random stuff. Oh, I guess maybe it's just play the game on the podcast. Because I said, what are some topics you guys might want to hear? But man, my wife Candace Weddle is in there. She said hello.
First time watcher. All right.
Brett Harbaugh said season 2, let's go.
Here it is. We got Michael Yost asked if we all meant to match. Yes, that was something we actually
Do you want to match, Michael?
Yeah.
And give us a better comment, and maybe we'll give you a shirt.
There you go.
Andy Walker was making fun of me a few minutes ago. He said, hey, dude, it seems kind of arrogant. It's like when a band wears their own shirt. Like,
somebody's got to help us out. Yeah. If it's not us, I don't know.
So what does that mean whenever we wear CBC stuff?
Yeah, right.
At church.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
He's crazy.
He's crazy.
All right. So we're super excited. Today, the topic is going to be, let them know, Josh. Aliens.
How many of you all are believers, right?
Ooh, yeah, absolutely.
Don't tell us.
yeah.
It should be a pretty spicy topic. Scott really believes in aliens, very strong convictions about it. So, we may have to debunk that for Scott today. But yeah, drop in the comments if maybe you feel like you've seen a UFO before or something weird like that.
That's a lot going on in the news lately with UFOs and all that. Would they call them something different now, don't they?
Oh, they used to call
UAV?
them UPA. Let me pull this back up. UAP, which is unidentified aerial phenomena. Yeah, how do you feel about that?
I don't know.
I think unidentified flying object is better. Which I learned started in the 40s. I think it was 1947 was the very first time the word UFO was used. That was after, I think it was New Mexico, where something crashed in New Mexico. None of us know what it was. It may have been the kid in the balloon. We don't know.
Yeah, right.
Remember Balloon Boy? Probably was him.
Absolutely.
But yeah. So yeah, there's a bunch of videos now floating around. So if you've been watching the news, they've had Congress hearings. They brought in former pilots who've said we've seen things that we can't explain. They don't know what it is. But I do want to point out, it said more sightings have been taking place in the United States and Mexico and Canada.
Wow. Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
There are some fantastic places in the world, and I agree, this is a great place to live. But is it the best?
Yeah, right. Well, I mean,
if you're going to choose, if you had any opportunity to go anywhere in the world and you're from a different planet, you're going to choose where?
West
Canada?
Virginia.
Where would you go if you could go anywhere in the world?
Where would I go if I could go anywhere? Siberia, maybe? Land there and no one knows you're there.
Okay.
I'm just kidding. Don't go there.
Maybe Scott's an alien.
I wonder how that breaks down with the further down south you get, the more UFOs they see.
Right.
They're just in the back of their truck looking at the stars.
Well, isn't it what's the thing with the cornfields?
Like, the circles,
what's
crop
up,
circles?
The crop circles, yeah.
Yeah.
It's got to be like Midwest or something.
Right.
Yeah.
So you have
that
to have
way
crops.
You have to have crops.
They only go where
crop dusting. That's a different tactic.
They only go where their crops are, is what it is.
Mike said we look like the Blue Man Group. Brett said, speaking of aliens, do you guys think the moon landing really happened?
I don't even think the moon ever happened.
Yeah, the moon's made of cheese for sure.
I think we did a whole episode on the moon landing.
We talked about it a little bit.
Yeah.
Did we talk about the moon landing though?
We didn't go into it deep. We just all agreed that it
I
didn't
do
happen.
think that I do think the only people who ask if it happened are the ones who don't believe it happened,
Yeah, right,
Brett,
right.
and they want us to,
Exactly.
side with them.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So that's the weird thing is, there's just some crazy things that have been happening lately. We've got a video.
Wait a second, because I forgot that I put it in there.
That's okay.
There's my first blunder of the night.
But
you
look,
emailed me that, right?
Yeah, I don't know. I think I just telepathed it to you. I said, hey.
You airdropped it to me.
But there's
That's
just been
it.
some
1
weird
second.
sightings in the sky. People have
Yeah.
been seeing things. And, I think, remember in the news, I think you're going to talk about that a little bit. Not long ago, there was like, there's something hovering over Wisconsin or something like that.
Oh,
Canada.
the balloon that over Montana, right?
Yeah, something weird. And it
Yeah.
was like, and nobody really batted an eye. I think COVID has really hardened us as a people.
Dude, nothing can catch us
Here's
off
the-
guard
you want to
anymore.
show the video?
Yeah.
This
So let me
is
set
you.
this up. This is me and Noah here, right on the property of Clarksburg Baptist Church, directly across from the Robinson Grand. We went to the theater over here and came
Or
out.
what?
I think it was a comedian.
Oh, it wasn't Star Wars night. You weren't.
Oh, it might have been.
Were you already thinking about
I don't know.
aliens?
I don't know.
No,
but
it
look,
definitely was.
Was it Star Wars
Yeah,
night?
because I remember you texted us. And you're like,
yeah,
dude,
right, yeah.
look at this thing over the Robinson Grand.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
we came out, and this is what we saw in the sky from the church parking lot.
Dude,
It's still
on
kind of
Star Wars night, it had to be Millennium Falcon.
Yeah, it's just like a tear
Here's
in
another
the
angle.
dimension. And I was just watching it. That's how long it was up there because I was able to pull my phone out and get 2 different videos.
Phil, that's a spotlight.
Yeah, not the spotlight.
Behind that, and Noah and I both were like, I'm actually kind of scared.
It
What
could
is
be
going
like
on?
the slowest shooting star ever.
Yeah, right.
Just like barely moving through the sky.
So I went home and Googled it, and I thought maybe this might have been what it was, but I Googled like long string of satellites, and I don't know if you've heard of Elon Musk's, whatever company, Starlink, I think is the name of the company, which provides internet to rural places, is exactly that. It's a long string of satellites that beam internet to places that it can't otherwise go. Kind of crazy. I know, like when Ukraine was going through their stuff, Starlink was able to provide internet so that those people might get help. And I know like Haiti.
They also
different
provided
places.
just for the military use.
Right.
For the Ukrainian military. I was walking through, we have this place in the Baptist Convention called Parson Valley. That's the first time I saw Starlink.
Yeah.
And it freaked me out. I'm just walking through at night, going back up to the dorms. I look up and I thought we were being invaded by something.
Yeah.
Whether
It's
it was like
also-
another nation, another planet, I don't know what it was. I was like,
Yeah.
this is freaking me out. And then you find out it's Starlink and you're like, maybe Starlink's actually a Skynet.
Well, the best
And
part
this
of
is Schwarzenegger
the one
coming in.
at
Right.
Parchment Valley is just looking at it because it doesn't work very well.
No, it
Right.
doesn't.
Yeah.
The whole
It's
time
awful.
I'm in class, like I can't access anything.
Shout out Palmer Seminary.
Yeah.
Shout out to Aaron Rodgers. He talked about a UFO on the season finale of Hard Knocks last night.
Did he?
Oh,
Did
really?
he see
so
one?
when you
Did
get,
he see it when he was down in that?
That's the
down
high
in
loss.
ground?
I think
Yeah,
it was
right,
like
yeah.
the night before he got drafted or something like that in New York City.
Oh.
It was kind of a cool story, but when you get to the end of Hard Knocks, they're just trying to fill the episodes with nonsense. And they literally spent 10 minutes of him sharing this story about seeing a UFO.
Right.
Yeah, you just want attention, Aaron.
Did you guys hear
We
that?
know you. 10,
10,
9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
And I think it's gonna be a weird, weird time till weird faith brings me round again to find I'm the weirdo they think I am at home. Oh no, no, no. I'm a weird faith man. Weird faith man. Burning out his fuse out here alone. All right, yeah. Wow, you thought you were going to get away without? Yeah, Scott just jumped. He's gained confidence.
He did better than me too.
Yeah.
I forgot to pull it up, and I was messing all the words up.
Well,
I
as soon
was
as Phil started
practicing
counting,
this
I'm like, why is he counting? I forgot we
practiced
already
it
agreed to do that.
all day, and I missed all the weird words.
Scott's been working on his voice in the off season, trying to get that ready.
I
to go.
went
His
to a Taylor
confidence.
Swift concert, and I realized I could do it
You
too.
can do it. Hell, we all
Auto-tune
can
helps.
do
You can
it.
do it. Anyone can.
Right?
do it.
Anyone can do it.
Yep.
Yeah, so
man.
we're talking about aliens. I got a nice little joke for you. Why don't aliens visit our solar system?
We're not very welcoming.
I don't know.
That's just a fact.
They read the reviews, and it's only 1 star.
Oh, look at there.
Oh, yeah.
Man, look at Josh.
All right, all ready to talk about aliens.
It's not a Weird Faith episode unless Josh has a costume on. And that's most of his life. He just walks into our office sometimes in Spider-Man and all that kind of stuff. So it's a fun time. Yeah, we're going to talk about next some iconic aliens. There's been a lot of aliens in media over the last 100 years or so. Movies. There's also shows, cartoons, all that kind of stuff. But before we go on, do you want to share?
Yeah, because I wanted to read this earlier because it made me laugh. It was top 10 fun facts for kids regarding UFOs.
Okay.
So share this with your kids at bedtime if you want. This number 4 and number 5 made me laugh. Number 4, the most popular explanation for UFO sightings is natural phenomena.
Right.
There's a fun fact, like no one already thought that was a
Really?
Well, number 5 gets better. The most popular theory that they're alien visitors, that they are from other planets and galaxies. So somebody thought, here's make an article of the top 10 most interesting things about aliens and UFOs, and they put the most obvious things
It's
on
either
there.
really aliens or it's not aliens at all.
Yeah, no, seriously. I was even reading earlier that like scholars and like researchers want to drop this stigma because they said we believe there's only 2 categories: the believer and the one who thinks everyone else is insane.
Sure.
And they're trying to be here in the middle, trying to rationalize things and justify things, and they can't do it, and they're being made fun of by one side and harassed from the other side. So let's drop the stigma at least. Let's be nice to those who believe. Let's be nice to those who think we're all nuts.
Right.
I don't know where I stand. Maybe this next, however long this live stream goes, maybe we'll change my mind.
Like, one
Yeah.
thing I've
Looking
learned
at
about
him-
myself, I can be convinced of anything. Just give me some good reasons, or maybe some not even so good reasons. I might jump on the bandwagon.
All right, let's see what we got here. Josh's first famous, iconic alien. Ready?
Yes, and
Look at him.
there he
There
is,
he
Marvin
is.
the Martian.
That's my favorite name for aliens. It's
Anything.
Martian.
Martian.
Yeah.
Oh,
No, not
Marvin.
I was like, yeah, Marvin is
Old
a
Marv.
great name. Can't beat old Marv. Marvin the Martian. We had to kick things off with Marvin because Marvin the Martian is the GOAT. The first alien I ever saw on a screen, and to this day, he's the face of aliens for me. A couple facts about Marvin. He made his debut on screen in 1948. Can you believe it? Was that long ago?
Man, I remember
That's
the day.
crazy. Yeah. 1948, often clashing with Bugs Bunny in the world of Looney Tunes. He's known for his distinct voice and the phrase, I'm going to do my best here. Where's the kaboom? There was supposed to be an earth-shattering kaboom. I think I was okay.
I'm good with it.
I remember my dad using that line a lot growing up, and I just thought it was the funniest thing ever. I think that's part of why I like Marvin so much.
And your dad.
Yeah, and just kidding, Dad. You're awesome. He also refereed the greatest basketball game of all
Yes.
time, right? And inspired the Marvin the Martian Air Jordan 7s. Yeah,
Really?
refereed. Yeah,
I don't think I've ever seen those.
Yeah,
really?
that sounds
Uh-uh.
awesome.
So I worked at a Hibbett Sports, and we always had those in stock. The Marvin
Nobody wanted them?
7s. Oh no, we just always had them.
Huh.
Like it was kind of. I think it's kind of like for sneaker collectors, like more of an iconic shoe.
Wow.
But yeah, refereed the game in Space Jam. I thought about this, and maybe they say that's something about it in the movie, but it makes sense because he would be kind of neutral,
Right.
right, with the Looney Tune characters and also aliens, the
Monstars.
Monstars.
Yeah.
Hey, if you were the Monstars and you had to choose one current NBA player to choose their powers and take their powers, who would you choose?
Wait, so all right, so we're building a new Monstar out of a current NBA
who would you
player?
pick?
So the most otherworldly basketball player right now, I think, is Steph Curry
Okay.
because it's so different.
Okay.
See, but if I think about building a Monstar, though, I feel like it has to be somebody just like freakishly.
What? Don't you remember it was
Mom
Muggsy
was young.
Bogues?
Yeah, no.
Yeah, right, yeah.
That's why I'm asking. Because if you go back and watch the movie, you got Charles Barkley, Muggsy Bogues, Sean Bradley.
Sean Bradley, yeah. He might have been out of the league.
He was like, he may have, yeah, he was 7'6" and terrible. And then who else? Charles Barkley, Bugs. Who am I missing?
I remembered Bugs.
Was it Patrick
and
Ewing?
Barkley. Oh yeah, it is Patrick
Yeah.
Ewing.
Iconic
Yes.
forehead right there.
I think I'd have to go with somebody like Joel Embiid. Just like
That'd be pretty good.
like huge.
Big guy
like,
like that,
it's
yeah.
easy to turn somebody like that into a monster because he might already be one.
Yeah. All right. So my iconic ones is a group, and here they are from the famous movie Toy Story. You recognize these resident aliens from the amazing restaurant that we know as Pizza Planet. These aliens, fun fact, and they're known to worship what? The claw.
The
claw.
The voice of that moment when they all say the claw and in unison was actually the current CEO of Pixar at the time on helium. Isn't that cool?
Yeah,
That's how they got
awesome.
the voice. I'm not sure if he did the voice all the time or
about
it was
to say-
just that one time.
It changes. It becomes more normal.
Becomes more
through
normal.
The movies where they
Yeah.
talk a little bit more.
But just that opening scene when you meet them.
you saved
that's-
our lives. We're eternally grateful.
Also, in my research of just finding out stuff about, do you know that Buzz Lightyear's original name was Lunar Larry? He was going to be named Lunar Larry.
Yeah, it's terrible.
Honestly, I don't hate it.
Really?
It's not as good as
You can
Buzz
convince him
Lightyear.
of anything.
They
I
probably
hated
had
it.
some kind of a
They
clash
said
with
that
veggie
they
shows.
realized it sounded too wacky and did not sound like a hot shot space trooper.
Yeah.
We
Buzz.
all agree.
Well, you got a Buzz Aldrin.
They named
You
it
got
after Buzz Aldrin.
You got it
That's
built
what
in
they
right there.
do.
It is
So.
better than Neil, too. Neil Lightyear. So we got some really good comments here. Melissa Brooker said Marvin is her husband's favorite. Then also, we're probably going to make some people mad on this list because we've already got some people shouting out E.T. So you're going to be upset.
We'll come back to that.
We will.
Mike Koreski said Zion feels monster-worthy,
yeah.
Monstar-worthy.
But he's always hurt.
Yeah, that's true. Maybe that would help.
I want to throw this comment out here too. Mike Wazowski is a close second. I didn't even think about Mike Wazowski. I don't know if he really counts.
Is he an
though.
alien?
He's a monster
He's
who lives in a
monster.
parallel universe on Earth.
I think
Sorry,
it's
Marianne.
because he looks like
He does.
Like
Well,
he looks
with
like
the
an alien.
green.
There are a lot of people in West
And the
Virginia
one
who look like aliens, okay?
Let's not stereotype aliens.
Don't stereotype looks.
But I do want to give a shout out.
His nose
Mike
is just
Wazowski is.
You got to take it off. Awesome. I can't look at you
Yeah,
anymore.
no, I'm making it through the facts. I'm making it through. There we go.
Emily said, Josh, I appreciate your dedication to this mask.
Hey, I'm going all out on
Stan said, Lunar Larry is out of this world.
There we go.
this. Stan. Yeah, but Mike Wazowski, I will give some love. Monsters Inc. is so good. But that's not what we're talking about.
One more Monstar. Noah said that he would choose Harden because of the beard. I think you could do
Okay.
some good beard
Yeah,
stuff.
you could do some cool
It'd be
stuff.
Wrap
Before or
around
after
the
the
ball.
gut?
Well, he doesn't even need that. Maybe he doesn't even move. He just lays there and the beard does
Beard
all the
does
work.
I was going to say, like, the modern day Bradley would be Victor Wembanyama. Like, just get this guy who's 7'8",
Yeah, just reach it.
just reach over and do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Do I have an alien?
Yes, you do. Here we go.
All right. Who's my first one? Oh, yeah. That's a good one, right?
Classic.
Stitch from
Stitch.
Lilo and Stitch. What is it? Ohana, right? Means family.
family.
Yeah, I know that.
Can
That's
you do-
from that movie.
Do the Stitch voice real quick.
I tried to do it earlier.
My name is Stitch.
My name is Stitch. Dude, that was
That was
really
pretty good. You've been
I feel like
practicing.
none of us did it good earlier.
We tried.
That was
This
pretty
is
good.
what, see, you also realize we don't just come in here and do it. We actually practice some of this stuff beforehand.
This takes months.
We did not practice Josh wearing this mask. That was a nice surprise.
Yeah,
They
you're
did-
doing good.
So, fun fact, I actually they ran out of alien masks at Party City. So this is a Spider-Man mask. And
Okay.
I
Okay.
put green construction paper over it.
So I walked
Did a
in the
good job.
office earlier while he was
DIY.
making this. I'm like, is he making a Spider-Man mask? Like, now I know.
DIY, baby.
All
So
right.
the crazy thing about Stitch is he was like an alien experiment or something like that, right? Because if you watch
626.
you watch the other movies, there ends up being more Stitches. I
Yeah.
don't think it's in the. Well, no, there's two in the first one, right?
No, just the one.
Or like a bad one.
No,
But he.
Stitch has a glitch.
Oh, that's what it is.
There's also one named Leroy, I think.
Yeah.
I love those
The
movies.
one
They're
movie
good.
where there's like a ton of the aliens.
I think it's
is
the second
awesome.
one.
Yeah,
I didn't watch any of those growing up, and I mostly watched them with Noah when he was little.
Yeah, I love those
Yeah,
movies.
they're
It's a good
awesome.
one.
Good stuff.
All right, Josh.
Back to me. All right, iconic duo. Optimus Prime and Bumblebee.
Yeah.
Transformers are awesome. The original cartoons are awesome. The movies with Shia LaBeouf, fantastic. I have not seen the new one, The Rise of the Beast.
Yeah, there's
I
like
think that's
7
what
I
it's
haven't
called.
seen.
There's a lot of them.
What has more movies, that or Fast and Furious?
Fast and Furious.
Okay.
But they kind
It's
of
almost.
it almost feels like it's the same type of
The same trajectory?
Yeah,
Right,
yeah.
yeah.
But Transformers are iconic. Fun fact, I played in a fantasy baseball league with a guy who did the animated Optimus Prime voice. I just landed in this league. It was a listener league for CBS Sports. And this guy, he did this whole like thing where he did the voice and he was like, all right, fantasy baseball league, let's roll out. And it was awesome.
That's amazing.
So I feel closer to Optimus Prime because of that.
Yeah.
Oh,
And,
like he's right here.
and those of you that aren't very familiar might say, well, those are robots, but that's not true.
not
They
true.
are
They're aliens.
aliens from another planet.
Yep.
Yeah.
We got a couple comments here of people that we don't have on our list. Alf, which was one we talked about a good bit.
He wasn't nostalgic for any of
Yeah,
us.
a little bit before our time. Probably would have loved him, though. I bet if I went back and watched him. 8 Cats. I love that.
I remember there was an Alf doll in the McClure house at one point, but I also remember caring about it.
Yeah. Oh, here's a good one. Marianne said Monsters versus Aliens.
Oh, throwback movie. I forgot about that movie.
That's an animated one, right?
Yeah, like early
Yeah.
2000s,
Yeah,
maybe
I
2007,
forgot.
2008.
Noah ended up watching that one a lot.
I remember, yeah.
There was like a blob dude
Yeah.
and like a Jello guy. And then Yvonne said Grogu and Yoda. We obviously, if we would have just went with Star Wars people, we would have ended up with just Star Wars.
Or
Grogu-
like
Grogu's
Marvel.
back on
Marvel
yourself.
and Star Wars.
Yeah,
right?
like you can pull a lot from Marvel too. A lot of the lists, if you look it up, a
So,
lot of people put Groot on there.
We're trying to reach out to our fan bases here, realizing that we do like to talk about superheroes and Star Wars, so we just want to take a break from that tonight
Yeah.
and focus on the true aliens,
Right.
I guess.
Hey, Mike threw in Superman. We talked about that earlier. I almost put Superman in my list, but I'm actually not that big a Superman fan. Like,
Right.
I just think
Because he's a loser.
He's a
I mean,
cheat
you,
code.
not Superman.
Both. We're both losers.
what's-
The only difference is I know it. Superman doesn't.
What's the movie with the alien named O? Tori was talking about it.
Is it like a Disney movie?
It's the dude from Big Bang Theory voices it.
Home.
Yeah, oh.
Home.
Home. Yeah, that's
Movie's
right.
just called
yeah.
Home.
Yeah, yeah.
Jim
yeah.
Parsons is the voice,
familiar with that.
At Tori always says, "I want to go into the out," like when she's putting the dog out.
Oh. It's like, what?
That's what he says in the movie.
I don't think I've
wanna go
ever
into
actually seen the
out.
whole thing.
It's a pretty good one. All right, so who's next?
Me. So my next one is a movie that maybe you've seen, maybe not. It's a movie called Galaxy Quest. But I want to leave this up to you all who are watching. There is someone that the three of us all love dearly in that picture. Can you name the
like my
actor in
own
the
father.
back right corner of the screen?
Drop
He
it in the
plays-
comments.
He plays the character named Lank, and he's one of the aliens. If you've never seen Galaxy Quest, Galaxy Quest was a TV show with Tim Allen, Sigourney Weaver, and these alien species. It's basically a ripoff of Three Amigos. They come in and say, "Hey, we want you to come fight our battles." And so these TV actors have to go fight an actual alien race. But anyone know who Lank is? Let us know in the comments. All right.
Ryan Sigmund got it. I
There
think.
you go,
Did he get
He
it?
said Dwight.
Yes.
But we asked for the actor's name.
Hey, but also, I don't know if you realized it. You probably did, but the main character's not in that picture you showed, which is Tim Allen, right?
Oh yeah, Tim Allen's the main
I
character
was
of it.
wondering earlier. You said it's a Tim Allen movie, and then you put up these four random
I
people.
put that picture.
That first
Yeah.
dude is Tim Allen looks different.
He looks a little different.
That widow's peak.
Yeah. Someone actually-
Alexandria Scott
The
might
sister-in-law.
have gotten it.
Yeah.
Did
But
she get
Sigmund
it?
got it.
Yeah,
He said
We'll
Sigmund
give it.
did.
All right, Sigmund.
Rainn
Alex.
Wilson is the name. Oh, Ryan chimed in. Oh, Jessica chimed in too.
Did she say Rainey Wilson? Or am I-
Rainey Wilson.
Yeah, I like that better.
Old Rainey Wilson.
Rainey.
There's actually, I found an interview of Rainn Wilson based off that movie. There's been like, because it's like a cult classic.
Mhm.
Like if you go online, like its ratings are really good.
No, really.
People just love it. It's a kind of fun. Like
I saw it
Alan
once a
Rickman's
long
in
time
it.
ago.
Professor Snape.
Mm.
But yeah, he did an interview there. I guess they've been trying to reboot it again, like either make it a TV show. And he
That'd be
said
good.
the one thing, like he would love to be in it, but he's too old to do makeup. He said, I don't want to sit in a chair again for 2 hours getting makeup. So
he's-
that's what 2 hours of makeup does. That.
Yeah.
Some great hair. Man,
Right.
Look at that.
2 hours of makeup could do wonders for me.
Josh, you should rock that Dwight Harris cut.
Yeah,
I think
I
you
could
could
do
pull
it.
that off.
Yeah, I could
Yeah.
do it. Yeah.
All right, who do I got next? I got.
Here you go.
Oh yeah, so this is the Blob, and obviously he's creeping up on a young lady there. This fun fact was filmed at least partially in my hometown of Downingtown, Pennsylvania, in the Downingtown Diner. I've eaten pancakes there. Actually, my church growing up was less than a block away from it, and just I don't know that I've ever sat through the whole entire movie. Have you seen any of it?
I've never seen it.
Yeah, it's black and white. Originally, I think they did color it later on, but. I think it was back in the
when you
40s
watched
or
it in black and white, did you imagine it was red? Or did you see the colorized version?
No, I thought it was black.
Okay.
And I think that would have been
This is kind of like a disturbing color.
It does.
Yeah. Like, just look at it. It's kind of like
it's just red Jello.
it's just gross.
Yeah, it's a little bit too much. If you look up other pictures of it that is colored, it's equally as disgusting. And it just oozes.
Yeah.
It's very slow.
Sounds like
it just
me.
it just comes through the doors and pushes them down and stuff.
Yeah.
And they scream and stare at it while it just overcomes them instead of running away.
Interesting.
Fun stuff.
That's awesome. Who's up?
You got the iconic throwback here.
All right.
Look at this bad
Am I
boy.
up with the xenomorph.
That
So-
picture's awesome.
dude. So all the ones that I was writing down were like fun ones. I felt like we had to do a scary, creepy, real
Yeah.
one.
We meant to
from-
prepare any kiddies if there are any pictures.
From the movie Alien. I felt like it just had to be brought up. That thing is absolutely terrifying.
Yeah, look
I
at
didn't
it.
bring any fun alien facts. I just felt like that is probably one of the more iconic aliens out there. It's an older movie, so the first time I watched it, I was like, oh, it'll probably be kind of cheesy, kind of weird. And I was like surprisingly shocked at how terrified I was.
Well, that movie
when I
has
watched it.
influenced
So-
a lot of other things too.
Yeah.
Like even with one Avengers movie, like the whole plot line of when they're going up into space with Tony Stark and Spider-Man, his whole way of escaping was to do what they did in the movie
Oh,
Alien.
wow.
I've never seen a single Alien movie, so
I only saw the first one.
movie night.
But it's pretty solid though, and I feel like Xenomorph had to be put in there as an iconic alien. So
Tori laughed that you said this is a real alien. This is what
Now
they look
this
like.
is a
That's what it
This
looks
is a
like.
real alien.
yeah.
I don't know. My next one,
Wait, did I say it or did Scott say it?
I don't know.
I don't know.
Tori said you did.
This one, I think the next one is the most terrifying of all the ones we'll show here tonight. So let's look at this.
Wow.
Men in Black. This is Frank the Pug. If you ever saw Men in Black, Frank was
A lot of good aliens.
Have you ever seen Men in Black? So there's like aliens among us, and they disguise themselves. And you got Tommy Lee Jones and Will Smith going around as Agent J and Agent K. Well, they're going to go ask Frank, and they're going to go do a shakedown to see what information he has on a new alien invasion. And they walks over to do the shakedown, meaning they're going to drill Frank with questions. And then he literally picks the dog up and starts to shake the dog, which
You can't do that.
That's not allowed.
is 100% real.
No.
They said that Tommy Lee
Are you
Jones,
serious?
the whole sequence is real. They had a live pug on set that in that little sweatshirt that Tommy Lee Jones, if you look at this, the
man.
picture, he picks it up and just shakes it, and they would say cut. And then every single time he would do it, he would bust out laughing. Tommy Lee Jones, who's always a straight-faced guy, like pretty serious, would break out laughing. And I do want to mention it was important to state in the credits and also online, no dog was harmed in the making of that
I
movie.
don't believe that. I don't believe
They
that.
shook a dog.
Yeah.
But if you look closely in the film, you can see out of the corner of Tommy Lee Jones' mouth a smile forming because he was laughing so hard he couldn't get through it.
Look, put that picture up one more time. You can tell this is like the third take. That dog
He's
is
exhausted.
not
done.
okay.
Yeah.
He knows what's about
Got
to
a
happen.
concussion for sure.
and shout out Jessica Wagner's got a pug named Delilah. Jessica, check out your dog. It might be an alien. That might be a pug thing.
So when we
Shaking
lived
around
in
for a while.
when we lived in
hate
Parkersburg,
that.
there was we'd go on walks and we had like a 2 mile, like this is our kind of our walking path thing. And there was one house like a few blocks over that had 3 pugs. And we all I don't know if you all do this, if this is normal. We named all the neighborhood dogs. Just I don't know
Your
if the real
own
names,
names?
but our own names, and that was
what gives you the right?
so that one of the 3 pugs was Frank and the boys, and because they'd always come just running out, just yapping at us. And I'll be honest, Jessica, I'm sorry, I'm not a big fan of pugs. I mean, is that cute? I'm not really sure.
It's a face only a mother could love.
I think pugs are cute. They're
I don't
different.
know.
They're
I don't know.
It's like the dog of the smash mouth, or
It's-
smash face cat.
Yeah,
The-
yeah.
the
It's like you
Danvers,
left
yeah.
a dog in the tub too long.
Oh man,
It's melted.
But Josh's favorite characters from this movie.
yeah. Shout out, staying with Men in Black, the worm guys.
There's a lot of good Men in Black aliens.
They all are solid, but these guys that just
they're
hang
the
out,
best.
drinking the coffee, smoking cigarettes, cracking jokes.
Low life, right?
These guys are awesome. Anytime they make an appearance, they're hilarious.
I want to do one more, and then we'll let Phil wrap it up with his last one. I forgot about this one until earlier this afternoon. I thought, what movie was my alien movie? So when I was in junior high, I believe, I went over to a birthday party at a friend's house, and we thought movie birthday party. So the first movie we watched was The Ring, and I've never been the same since. That was awful and horrifying. Then they rounded out the evening with a more tame movie with this epic scene, which is the movie Signs.
Ooh, that's a good one.
It's actually a really good movie. But I'll never forget this sequence right here when Joaquin Phoenix or Meryl comes in, and all you see is the reflection of the alien there in the screen.
Yeah.
Oh, it was terrifying.
They don't ever show it till the end, right?
No, the one part they say, hey, there's a live footage of Brazil birthday party,
okay.
and you see a quick glimpse of it, and it terrifies you.
Right.
And then all of a sudden you see the hand come under the door through the wall. That movie was actually really good. And I was thinking about, so if you've never seen it, it's a minister who's going through his own grief and raising his own kids, his brother lives with him, and all of a sudden aliens just start forming crop circles in his yard, invading his house.
Right, yeah.
Pennsylvania.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
All
it must
those
have happened.
M. Night Shyamalan movies are in Pennsylvania.
Are they really?
Yeah, he's from Philadelphia or something.
More
So I'm not a big scary movie or big real violent movies or gross ones like Alien or something like that. But Signs was
it's
a
a good.
movie
I want to watch it again. It's been
Swing Away and
Swing Away, Meryl.
and all the.
We always quote the daughter. Which, fun fact, the son is Macaulay Culkin's other brother, Rory.
Oh, okay.
Who is also in one of the Home Alones, I think 2. And then the girl is it Abigail Breslin, who was a little child star. I think he ended up being Zombieland later. But her little line, remember she left all the little cups of water everywhere.
Yes.
This water's contaminated.
Yeah.
If we see water balls around the house, that's what we say to each other.
That's what the side of my bedstand looks like. Too. I'm just waiting though. I never know.
Just swing away.
Hey, shout out to another really terrifying one that just popped in my head from A Quiet Place.
Oh,
those might be actually the worst in
I didn't even think about
any
that one.
universe ever.
If you've never, let's say that right now. If you've never watched The Quiet Place, you need to go watch it. That movie is incredible.
It is so intense.
I will tell you, if you have young kids, don't watch it with them. I watched that movie when Katie was pregnant. If you remember, one of the main characters was pregnant, and that was the most stressful moment of my life.
Yes, right.
The pregnancy and the film together.
Right.
But yeah,
I'm sorry it was so hard on you.
I'm sorry. It was very traumatic.
Guys, show Scott some love in the comments.
The last one
rough
for
pregnancy.
Phil.
All right,
He chose
this
probably the best one.
Yeah, absolutely.
Ready?
Flintstones, The Great Gazoo. Now, this show already had a pretty crazy concept. It's like old timey sitcom in the Stone Age. They've got dinosaurs that are can openers and they run with their feet. But then they drive with their feet as they but then in a couple seasons in, they decide that it's not crazy enough and not interesting enough, so they have to bring in this Martian, the Great Gazoo from the future, and he just pulls hijinks the whole time and is kind of makes all their lives harder. Have you ever seen a single one of them?
Yeah. That's what I was about to say. Is I need to go back and watch them because I remember watching the Flintstones, but I don't remember well enough to remember the Gazoo.
Yeah,
the Great Gazoo.
I think it was probably the later episodes. I didn't look up, when it started, but it was one of those situations like what was it, Happy Days, where they jumped the shark. Have you heard that phrase before? It's when a show gets crazy and goes too far. So in Happy Days, Fonzie,
like Lost.
Yeah, right. Fonz jumped a shark with his motorcycle. That's
really?
A stunt. Yeah, and so that's where
awesome.
that phrase comes when a show.
Is that really too far though?
You should watch it.
Okay.
So check out this transition. Okay, we've been talking about aliens. Speaking of things that are out of this world.
Stan tried to steal your thunder earlier.
Jesus.
The tone has to change a little bit.
Jesus came into this world, God in the flesh, and he did some very different things, right? Obviously, he wasn't an alien from another planet. He's God in the flesh, divine, an equal part of the Godhead. And he taught some pretty foreign ideas, though, when he came. He some things that were very, very different. Now, just to run down the basis of it, the Bible is a library of books of over 40 authors that spans thousands of years. The Old Testament is all about how God is pursuing his people and about how they continually reject him. But the New Testament is about how someone is coming. And in the Gospels, we see that very kick off of Jesus being born in the flesh and living this life, a perfect and a holy life, to come and show us a different way to live our lives. And that's the thing that was out of this world about how Jesus lived. He was the Messiah, and he taught some crazy things, and that's what the Gospels are all about. Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. It's all about how Jesus is here, the one that was coming to fix everything. But the Messiah didn't come in the way that the Jewish people imagined that he would. The Old Testament had prophecies about this one that would come. And at that time, they focused very much on the part of the Messiah coming to judge their enemies and free them from their Roman captors. And when Jesus didn't do that, many people rejected him. Then he made it clear that that wasn't how he was going to live out his purpose. But Jesus came meek and humble, teaching and caring about outcasts, people that were deemed unimportant, calling the religious to a higher standard rather than their enemies, which they had thought. He called them out. But he also made big claims like, I and my Father are one. And the Jewish people understood that he was saying that he was God. He also said, I am the way, the truth, and the life, and nobody can get to God except through me. Yep. He said he could forgive sins. And who can do that but God? These were crazy statements for someone to make. And at first, many of the Jewish people were, just imagining Jesus to be another prophet, and they followed him around for a while, and they watched him do miracles. But they were not expecting him to claim that he was God in the flesh. And they weren't really keen on that idea. And they stopped following him pretty quickly when he said those types of things. And Jesus had some very different ideas about culture, things that are even countercultural for us today. He had some other worldly ideas about poverty. Jesus told us first to love the Lord, our God, with all our heart, soul, and mind, and then to love our neighbor as ourselves. How do you even begin to do that? How do I love somebody that is in my circle, in my sphere of influence, that's around me, like I love myself? And these are things for us to struggle with, things for us to push ourselves further and deeper into. What does that even mean, though? What is Jesus expecting us to do? Are we supposed to help someone else like we would want help if we were in their situation? These are not ideas that were common in their culture, and they are not ideas for us today that make very much sense to us at all. Are we supposed to, think of the poor and think of those that are outside of the community as those that have equal value to those that are rich and those that have proven themselves to be honorable people by community standards? The Bible even went as far to say that it's hard for a rich person to get to heaven. And not that it's impossible, but it would take them putting aside their ideas about that they're important and understanding fully that it's all about Jesus. And these thoughts that Jesus had with the ideas on poverty were countercultural at that time. And they would have really shook people up. What do you guys think about that?
Yeah, Jesus, it feels like everything he said, he drops these little, like mic drop, truth bomb moments, because everything that he taught is so like counter instinct for us, counterintuitive, countercultural, and that's why you often hear people talk about the kingdom of Jesus as the upside down kingdom.
Yeah.
Because, hey, like the standards that you're living by in this world and what the world and the culture around you tells you is the way that you're supposed to live. I want you to flip that in reverse. Instead of fighting back against your enemy, turn the other cheek. Love your enemies, pray for your enemies, different things like that I know you mentioned. But I heard Ben Stewart say not long ago, we take our cues from Christ, not from culture. And we do surround ourselves with culture, and we want to be different than the culture for the culture, right? But that we no longer as Christians take our cues from what everybody else is doing, what our flesh tells us to do. We take our cues from Christ and how he lived, how he modeled all the things that he said, what he told us to do. So that makes us otherworldly when we follow Jesus and follow in his footsteps instead.
You mentioned the phrase upside down kingdom, and that's what I remember someone last year, maybe 2 years ago, that was the theme at Cowan.
Yeah, 2 years
and
ago.
the one I remember one of the things we talked about was the followers of Jesus lived in an upside down world in an upside down way, and that turned the whole world upside down.
Right.
Like you think about how did 12 followers, 70 followers, 100 followers of Jesus grow so rapidly? It's because they followed exactly what he said. Right. They were being persecuted, yet they were rejoicing. People were enslaving people, and they were trying to set them free. People were throwing babies off cliffs, and they were there to foster them and bring them into their home and adopt them. They completely turned the entire world upside down and changed the course of history for a lot of different ways, just because they followed exactly what he did, because it was countercultural, and that was what's the word? It was appealing. Is that the right word?
Sure.
Well,
to people.
Yeah, and shocking. Like
Shocking,
you read those like documents in the days of the early church, and it's like people are just like, what do you even do with these people? Like, why do they behave the way that they do? Why are they so strange? The same way that we would look at like an alien now. It's like they presented themselves in such a different way with their behaviors and with the way that they responded to people. Like, what do you do when you threaten to hurt somebody and they bake you a pie and you know, want to be your friend or something like? And that's the kind of behavior you saw from the early church and in the Christians.
Well, in the early church was also, you look at the genetic makeup of the church. If you do a genetic makeup study of the church in America today, it would not look, that's just not necessarily generalized statement, maybe, it would not look like it did then. Like the first century church was made up of the people in the margins. Like it was very much everyone on the lower status of society was the one who made up the church. I mean, the women, the slaves, the children, that was not the rich and powerful that made up the church. When it came to Rome and eventually became the rich and powerful, things kind of got a little wonky after that. But yeah.
Well, that's the next thought that I had was that kind of really hits home is when most of the world, we're talking about like poverty and how God looked at it or how Jesus modeled that for us. Most of the world would look at us like we're the rich people. And when they think of rich people, they think of people like me and you. And so that makes it really hard for us to struggle with these things when it says, like it says in 1 John 3:17, that if anyone has the world's goods and sees his brother in need, yet closes his heart against them, how does God's love abide in him? Little children, let us not love in word or talk, but in deed and in truth. These are hard countercultural statements, and we're going to talk here in just a second about some other types of statements, but this poverty one is such a big one because at that time in Jewish culture and especially in Roman culture, if you were rich, it was because you were meant to be rich. It was because your character meant that whether you were born into it or not, you were just a better person. And if you were poor, it's because you didn't try hard enough or for some reason the gods weren't smiling on you in some way. And there was very little middle there. It was either rich or poor, and that meant good or bad. And when Jesus comes into the picture and he sits with the poor and he stops and talks to the person that's blind, begging outside the temple, or he goes and sits with the outcasts and he makes it clear that he cares about them and he has time for them. And then he goes on and tells stories about like the widow and her mite, this lady that has nothing, but her faith is so big. Then you have also the story of Lazarus, the one at the table that was there at the rich man's table and ends up going to heaven while the rich man doesn't. And it's
Yeah.
all these stories where the person that's in poverty is actually the hero of these stories. And they would have heard these stories and it would have really shaken up what they thought about.
I remember, and Michael Yost can probably attest to this as well. When you get out of your context and you see poverty in a different light, like we were friends of Fort Liberté, and I was there in 2012, and I met people that literally had absolutely nothing, and they looked at me and said, "You have everything."
Yeah.
Now, for my own context in my mind, I was a poor college student. All I had was college debt and maybe a couple bucks. But what I had compared to them, I actually did have everything. But then I realized, and this is what you're talking about, the difference was what I saw in them was something that I wanted more than what I had here. They had an admirable joy that was kind of defiant, defiant joy that made no sense because their happiness, usually our happiness is dependent on the things that happen around us. Their joy was real, and their joy was set on something much higher than what we ever really consider here.
Yeah, I think it's harder. This is a hard thing for us to understand, but it's harder to give away the more that you have sometimes. Like I feel like you go somewhere that's more an impoverished country, like those are typically super generous people who share their resources and like give even though they don't have much. The widow's mite, right? This is all that I have, but this is what I'm going to give. I think the more we accumulate and the more we set our sights on, I've got to have everything. I've got to build up my collection of money and things. The tighter we grasp those things, like you just said, like Jesus talks a lot about like being rich is not always a blessing. Rich in monetary terms, like it's not always a good thing. Like he said, it's harder for a rich man to find the kingdom of heaven because you start to place your like your identity in those things and you value things more than you do Jesus. Just to kind of piggyback on something you said earlier about people in the margins, I heard Timothy Keller say in something I listened to the other day that Christianity always thrives the healthiest in the margins. Yeah. Where it's because like Christianity in the West today has become like we see the prosperity gospel and things like that. And we see the gospel distorted because of our view of money and accumulation of things. And, people are starting to see the gospel as a means to gain something rather than, I have Jesus, and if I can have Jesus and nothing else, I have everything I
don't remember if it was, I know that quote, and so I'm wondering if it was an article or was it from a book? Because I've read that, because someone said, I feel like Christianity in America is getting pushed to the margins. He's like, good, that's where it thrives.
Right.
I was like, wow. Yeah, that's amazing. That's
I think
deep.
I heard him say it in the, is it the Veritas forum?
Okay,
it was on a video, but he probably wrote it down somewhere too.
He probably stole it from something. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, right. So, God has always cared about the poor too. It isn't just something that happened in the New Testament. In the Old Testament, there were laws in place for them to leave a certain amount of their harvest so that the poor might come through and be able to pick their, the food that they need. And Jesus's view on the poor was otherworldly. Leave that section with Luke 4:18 when it says, "The Spirit of the Lord is upon me because he has anointed me to bring good news to the poor. He has sent me to proclaim the release to the captives and recover of the sight to the blind, and to let the oppressed go free, and to proclaim the year of the Lord's favor." And we've seen that through history. Jesus's life changed things. And the more that we model our life after Christ, we see things. And although it has, at times has taken a long time, but Christians have been on the forefront of every single one of these movements to free people. And they haven't always been. There have been people that have twisted the Bible in order to, uphold evil. But when lived out genuinely, we see.
I just read a book for seminary over the summer, and there was, because you read the passage from Luke. He's quoting Isaiah, right?
Right. Yeah.
So they said, like, how shocking it was for him to be standing in front of the religious elite to pull out the scroll of Isaiah, which they probably got excited about, saying he's going to read from the scroll of Isaiah, and that's the passage that he chose, because it would have been very much anti everything that they did in practice.
Yep.
And it was basically like, this is what I came to do. Yeah. And this is what I sent you all to do, but you're not doing it. So this is why I'm here.
That's awesome.
And I was like, oh, that's a bold mic. You said earlier, the mic drop moment.
Yeah. Yeah.
Here's another one of Jesus's thoughts on race were not earthly. We see him just like he did with the widow's mite and Lazarus. Many times the people that were heroes in his story were not the typical Jewish religious elite or the Roman elite. We know the story of probably one of the most beautiful stories in all the Bible with the Good Samaritan.
Yeah.
Where this person that would have been seen as a dog in the Jewish culture at that time is the hero of the story. After all these good cultural people, honored, respectable people walk by, this Samaritan takes the time and helps this person, pays for his stay, all that different type of stuff. We see Jesus go through Samaria instead of going around like most of the people would at that time.
Yeah.
He stops and talks to a woman, and we'll talk about that here in just a little while. We see how he values women throughout the Bible. This woman was of mixed ethnicity, and also was someone that was of ill repute, where she had done all this stuff. And this was not the normal person that was the hero of a Bible story when she accepts Jesus Christ and then goes and tells all of the people about this living water that they'll never thirst again. And then we see Jesus go and say, go into all the world as he leaves. Go into all the world and preach the gospel to every creature, to Jerusalem, Judea, Samaritans, and the furthermost part of the earth, which I'm happy about that last one because America would be known as the furthest most part of the earth from that place that he was at. He had counterculture, like we just mentioned, ideas about women and even marriage. Jesus taught women, which would not necessarily have been the norm at that time. Mary and Martha learned from Jesus, sat at his feet.
Yeah, so look at the image of them sitting at his feet, which is the place of a disciple. That's powerful.
Right? Yeah, absolutely. And as he sat there and he taught them about scriptures, the only people that were left at the cross that didn't deny him or leave him behind was Mary and Martha and his mother and John, right? Most of which, obviously are women. They're standing there. Jesus valued women. He gave them his time. We also know that the earliest people that saw Jesus at the tomb, a resurrected Christ, were women, even though that at that time the witnesses, as far as the government was concerned, a woman's testimony wouldn't have been believed because of how they viewed women. The very first people that were there at the tomb to see a resurrected Christ were women. Jesus spent time and he poured his life into women.
Some people even say, which depends on, we talk about the Jesus series and trying to follow that chronological the best you can, because sometimes it's a little hard to follow that. But some people say, and I think I agree too, the very first person that he says, I am the Messiah to, was the woman at the well. And then the very first person that he says, I'm alive, were these three women at the tomb.
Yeah,
it's pretty amazing.
And so these times where we, in culture, and especially if you look back 300, 400, 500 years, 1,000 years, where women weren't valued and they're, weren't seen as equal footing on the table. Footing on the table?
I don't know what
you
that...
like to relax.
On the table.
I'm going to relax for a second. But also, Jesus spoke against casual divorce. And you might, nowadays think of that as like, that's kind of hard or that's kind of weird. But what people were doing at that time, men were leaving their wives and going and marrying someone else. And in that culture, that meant this woman would be destitute. And Jesus says, look, no, that's not the way you're supposed to do it. A man and a woman are supposed to become one flesh. And, I don't know if you've ever tried to rip off an appendage, but that's pretty hard. And
remember arm fall off, boy?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
From last season.
Got out.
Yeah.
Blorp.
You mentioned it too. Widows and orphans is another big thing. These are the people in that society that would have been seen as having the least amount of rights. Children, widows, as having very little attention paid to them. And Jesus cared about them. He cared about widows, orphans, and children, all of which would have been seen as other and outcasts.
Yeah.
Jesus' disciples told husbands to love their wives like Christ loved the church and gave himself for him. So we see all these times where Jesus takes these hard statements for this culture and even hard for us to imagine now. And he has these these otherworldly things. Sinners, which I'm glad Jesus takes time to be countercultural about sinners. But Jesus hung out with the most hated people in society. He went to the tax collectors and the prostitutes and the thieves. He valued people. And this was what it means to really value life, is to value every person that has breath in their lungs, every person that has a heartbeat. Jesus valued them, and the kind of people that the elite avoided and the proudly religious avoided, those were the people, those that Jesus wanted to spend time with and hang out with. And lastly, counterculture ideas that Jesus came, otherworldly ideas, was, and we've talked a little bit about this already, but with money. Jesus actually talks a lot about money. In Matthew 6:2, it talks about when you give to the needy, do not announce it with trumpets, as the hypocrites do in the synagogues and on the streets to be honored by others. Truly, I tell you, they have received their reward in full. A lot of times when we do give, we want to get that tax deduction. We want to take a picture of a big check, and we want to let everybody know that we did something good.
There's a funny video to be done here where I give $1 to Phil, and then a bunch of dudes pop out with trumpets.
Yeah, absolutely.
That'd be awesome.
Matthew 6:25 says, therefore I tell you, do not worry about your life. What? How are we supposed to do that? Do not worry about your life, what you will eat or drink, or about your body or what you will wear. Is not life more than food and the body more than clothes? Scott, you talked about that. Josh and I have been to Costa Rica, and I've been to Indonesia, and I've been to other parts of the world. Every single time that I have come into somebody's home, they have always given me the best that they ever, even to the point where we always make sure that we pay them, because otherwise they don't do it for that reason.
Yeah.
But they want to give you, they want to slaughter the goat. They want to do whatever they can to make you feel welcome. And here he tells us that we ought to be able to live that way. We ought to be able to live with a open hand, ready to give and ready to, not hold on to that life. I always think of Scrooge McDuck when I'm thinking of somebody that hoards everything they have.
Yeah.
He lives in this tower that is just dedicated to piles and piles and piles of his own money so that he can swim through it rather than help anybody with it. And that's a counterculture idea that Jesus had.
Yeah. One of the things I feel like you see in a lot of these different countercultural things that Jesus says is like, behind a lot of it is like, love people even when you get nothing in return for it. So love this person, even if it might affect your reputation and what other people think of you. Love people, even if they can't give anything back to you. Like love people without expecting anything in return. One other thing I want to mention, I love the things Jesus says is countercultural because there's this distinction between God's thinking and my thinking. Mm-hmm. So I know we've talked about that before, a God that's just a deified version of me isn't a God worth worshiping, right? God, the fact that the words that God uses challenges me and pushes me and contradicts my flesh and my thinking reminds me that God is bigger than the way that I think. And it's a good thing that there's contradictions there, because a deified version of Josh, we'd be in trouble. I like the song by Toby Nwigwe, Try Jesus.
Not me.
Don't try me. But I love at the end, he says, talks about, I know in the Bible you say turn the other cheek, but that's just one part of the Bible that just don't sit right with me. Right? And I can
it's honesty.
Sing the part there, right, but I won't do that. But the honesty of it, because it's honestly, a lot of the Bible, if we read it, we could be like, man, that doesn't sit right with me. But that's a good thing, because God's way is higher than my way.
And so the funny thing is, it's been 2,000 years, and we've made so many advancements, and we've come so far, and these things still blow our minds when we look at them.
Yeah.
And the people that do think they have all these things under control, that's not the type of person I want to hang out with.
You're right.
Because as you read these things, it's just over and over, you get gut punches about how we ought to strive and attain. And it's not, these aren't things to make us live in guilt, but rather something to struggle with and to attain and to push forward to.
Well, and so the challenge is because there's been inconsistency amongst Christians over the centuries, and you even hear like Gandhi famously said, "I love your Jesus, I don't love you Christians," and because of the discrepancies between the two. But then we see where we've stepped back from society, we stepped back from cultural presence, and we let someone else lead the charge. So we let somebody else lead the charge in one arena, and then we sit back and complain about how that has turned out. And it's like we were the ones to begin with who were called to live a countercultural life, to step into that space. And you do walk away feeling guilty, and that's not what we're trying to communicate, but it is to evaluate, your own self, your own thoughts, because you look at you said the story of like the Good Samaritan. The challenging part of that story for me is that everybody that walked past the guy on the ground said they were walking down the hill from Jerusalem, and one was a priest, one was a Levitical, like an assistant more or less. If they're walking down the hill, they're on their way home from the temple. The laws that they were following, allegedly, were the ones that prevented them from doing their priestly duties. The things that they just did. So they're leaving church, more or less, on their way home, not on their way in. So they're claiming to be unclean. Or you think the story like with Jesus, like the countercultural moment of that, he goes up to a leper and touches him to heal him. Like that's say, so the question is, who out there do we despise that much in today's society that we would take offense if Jesus went over there and sat with them or touched them?
Right.
And then you turn the mirror back on yourself and say, is it more offensive than you?
Yeah.
It's because Jesus still stepped into your mess.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Challenging stuff.
Yeah.
Good stuff tonight.
Let me read these two last verses I had because it's just more of countercultural. Matthew 5:42, give to one who asks you, do not turn away from one who wants to borrow from you. It pushes us to, hey, don't ask for that charger back. Say, oh, no, man, you keep it. Yeah. That's a tough one. I have done that in the past.
That was very specific.
Yeah. I want my charger back.
All I could think just then was like, dude, did I take your charger? Did I ask for my charger back?
No. But the times that I have done that, where I've been open with my hand and said, no, look, I don't even need this. It's not a big deal. I have always been thankful when I have just said, just take it.
Yeah.
Because then I'm not in the back of my head.
It always feels weird too. Like if it's something small, being like, hey, you got that thing?
You did lose a tarp of mine one time. Did you bring it back?
Yeah.
It was like 2 years later.
Yeah. I think we found it.
He brought back a jump drive today that didn't even belong to you.
I think we found it when we moved out of the other building.
No, I think
the whole purpose of this whole thing.
I just want to confront
you. Bring up the tarp.
We're having a live stream to have an intervention for you.
Thank you guys for joining us for this. Here's another one. Matthew 6:24. No one can serve two masters. Either you hate the one or love the other, or you will be devoted to one and despise the other. You cannot serve both God and money. So that's a challenging thing to us. How many of us, our time, our thoughts, our intentions are all controlled by money? Josh mentioned loving your enemies. It's probably one of the hardest countercultural things. Forgiving 490 times, 70 times 7. That I don't like that one. Turn the other cheek, where you offer up the relationship again. All these things are what are supposed to set Christians apart and make us, like you said, attractive, appealing, because we're different. And this is where the church is failing, is that we aren't different and we do not do these things that Jesus asked us to. And that's what it means when it says that we are supposed to be strangers and foreigners in this land because this world is not our home. And the more that we look at Jesus, the more we realize how otherworldly his ideas were.
Yeah. So challenge to all of you weirdos, try to live different. Take your cues from...
Be an alien.
Be an alien. Take your cues not from the culture around you, but from Christ, how he has called us to live. And let's look at what Jesus did and follow those footsteps instead of the world around us. Fun fact real quick. I didn't want to leave without saying this. The turn the other cheek phrase, for the longest time, like as a kid, every time I heard it, I thought it meant butt cheek. I thought it.
This is the only venue that you could talk about this.
It's weird faith. Because I thought what it meant was So if somebody slapped you,
like
turn around and walk the other way. So like turn your cheeks.
Oh, so not this cheek.
And like turn your butt around and go the other way.
So we knew Josh was going to get canceled tonight.
There
now
it was. We can't edit this out. We're live still. Hey, before we forget too, we said that we were going to tell everybody why we left ET off the list.
Oh, yeah.
So
ET's the worst.
That's ET is trash. I was trying to be excited about ET coming into this today, and then both of them basically said like, "Hey, it's a safe space here.
Yeah,
we don't have to hype up this alien."
The best thing about ET was the Skittles.
Yeah, that's about it.
I don't even remember.
There were Skittles involved. He liked candy.
ET
finger
can
was
glow
weird.
his finger. I can do that. Look at this. Ooh. Call me ET now. More like
his name
idiot.
Is literally just
like idiot.
Like his name is extraterrestrial, which is just the name. That's like us having a show called Three Humans.
Hey, human.
It might be a good name. I don't know.
Yeah, no, ET's not great.
There's a couple good quotes, or not quotes, but comments here. Noah's favorite, which I regret now that I see that this wasn't on the list, is Gonzo.
Yeah,
Gonzo is amazing.
I couldn't remember.
Is that the one that Noah dropped in there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Noah, I am a massive fan of the Muppets.
We are too.
I remember watching Muppets in Space a long time. I don't remember the plot line.
Yeah, that's
so I
what
couldn't
it is.
remember if Gonzo was actually an alien. So I wanted it in my list, but couldn't add it in there last second.
We also, there was something else in here. Oh yeah, David and Janie Carrico. I'm gonna guess this is Janie. Said you guys are
our favorite
cute.
Carrico.
Yeah, she said you guys are cute. So
We
I'm
are.
guessing that wasn't David.
David, if that's you, you're
I'm
adorable.
sitting right here, JJ.
I was wrong. It was Reese's Pieces. Reese's
Oh, that's right.
Pieces.
I said, yeah. 'Cause
Thanks, Yvonne.
Holly does that in the office too.
Reese's Pieces. Awesome. So hey, we got some great comments down here. So we're gonna have to figure out who is gonna win a shirt. We'll deliberate and let you know if you get a shirt in the mail. So be checking.
I thought you were saying deliver it and botched it. You said deliberate.
Deliver
We'll
it.
deliberate.
Yeah.
That's not how you say it.
Yeah. So it's been awesome, man. It's good to be back.
It is good to be back. We're not done celebrating, though. You can't be done without Silly String! Guys, Weird Faith is back and better than ever. We love you guys so much. Do you guys have anything else to share?
I spent a lot of time getting this room ready, all this equipment ready, and you just threw.
I think there's a gas in there, too.
There is. It smells terrible. I think we
That
need
was me.
Oh my.
We'll clean you guys
We
up.
need
Yeah,
to we need it
figure
for
it
a
out.
live stream next time. We need like a bleep filter because there's things I really wanted to say right now.
All right, guys. Hey, this has been amazing to be back with you. And if you didn't get a chance to watch the whole thing, we will be sure to post a edited version. We'll take out all of Josh's comments that needed to be filtered out.
All of them.
No, we won't leave those in. But we'll post it on YouTube soon, and we'll look forward to our next episode with you. It's been awesome.
We want this season to be even bigger and better, so we also want to have guests.
Yeah.
So we're going to be trying to bring that in. I had someone even I dropped the hint and said, "Oh, I would love to be on there." They even said, "I'll let you guys figure it out." They said in the comments that they do a karaoke version of the song from Men in Black. So go back and we're gonna make that happen. John, you might just come on as a guest and do that song for us.
I like
because
it.
That would be
I like
pretty
we've done a karaoke episode. We'll make that happen.
Now, don't get jealous if the rest of you say, I want to be on and you're not on. Because that's just how it works. Life's hard sometimes. That's the
That's
next
our next
subject.
episode. Life sucks.
Life is hard sometimes.
Hey, you weirdos out there, don't forget, let's get weird, because normal isn't working.
Love you guys.